Imagine waking up one morning in a world where nearly every rooftop glimmers with solar panels, every factory hums with energy harvested from sunlight, and electric vehicles zip silently down the highways, powered by the inexhaustible rays of the sun. On the surface, it's an inspiring vision. A clean energy revolution transforming not just how we power our homes and businesses, but how nations compete, collaborate, and even clash on the global stage. Yet, beneath this bright future, a high-stakes power struggle is unfolding, one that will determine who really controls the destiny of solar energy, both in the United States and around the world. Over the past year, something extraordinary has been happening behind the headlines. Chinese solar giants, long dominant in global solar manufacturing, have quietly begun selling off their American factories. At the same time, American firms, some with centuries-old manufacturing legacies like Corning, are swooping in to buy these assets and rapidly expand their own solar ambitions. The question is, why are the titans of Chinese solar retreating just as American demand for clean, renewable energy is reaching historic highs? And in this game of musical chairs, who stands to gain or lose the most as the tectonic plates of global energy power shift beneath our feet? To understand this moment, let's travel back in time a bit. The American solar industry has always been a dance of innovation, policy, and global competition. From the first solar cells developed in Bell Labs in the 1950s to the rooftop panel booms of the 21st century, the United States has oscillated between leading the charge and playing catch-up to foreign competitors. But something changed dramatically in the summer of 2022. With the passage of the landmark Inflation Reduction Act, the United States government unleashed an unprecedented wave of incentives aimed at supercharging domestic solar manufacturing. At the heart of this legislation lay new tax credits like the Section 45X Advanced Manufacturing Production Tax Credit, which offers lucrative financial rewards for producing solar components, polysilicon, wafers, cells, and modules right here on American soil. The effects were immediate and profound. Within just a couple of years, American solar panel manufacturing capacity has soared. By early 2025, it is expected to reach nearly 52 gigawatts per year, a staggering figure that would have been unimaginable just a decade ago. According to market research from IBIS World, the number of solar panel manufacturers in the United States grew by almost 5% in 2024 alone. More than that, the sector is on track to triple its workforce over the next decade, with 120,000 jobs projected by 2033. From the heartland of Indiana to the sun-baked deserts of Arizona, companies like Bila Solar, Longi Solar, and Tandem PV are announcing multi-million and even billion-dollar investments in new facilities, each promising thousands of new jobs and a chance for the United States to reclaim its place at the forefront of renewable technology. Take Bila Solar, for example. In August of 2024, the company unveiled plans to build a $35 million solar module factory in Indianapolis, Indiana, creating 250 new jobs for the region. Not to be outdone, Longi Solar is constructing a 5-gigawatt module manufacturing complex in Ohio, in partnership with Invenergy, a leading renewable energy developer. Meanwhile, Tandem PV, at the cutting edge of solar technology, secured $50 million to launch the nation's first large-scale perovskite solar cell production facility, a move that could propel American solar technology to new heights. Yet, as the United States ramps up its solar ambitions, a parallel story is unfolding. A story of barriers, trade tensions, and shifting alliances. The very same government incentives that are attracting new manufacturers are now paired with tough new restrictions on foreign, especially Chinese, involvement. Enter the Foreign Entities of Concern, or FEOC, rules. Under these regulations, companies whose supply chains or funding trace back to countries designated as strategic competitors, most notably China, are at risk of losing access to the lucrative tax credits that underpin the economics of American solar manufacturing. The impact has been swift and dramatic. Tariffs on Chinese solar imports, now as high as 145%, have triggered fierce trade disputes and forced companies to make hard choices. Paula Mintz, a veteran analyst at SPV Market Research, warns, domestic solar manufacturing needs sustained policy support to compete with established international players. Despite these hurdles, Chinese firms are still projected to control nearly half of America's solar panel production capacity in the coming years, a staggering statistic that keeps American policymakers and industry leaders on edge. This pressure has led to a dramatic shakeup within the industry. Major Chinese-owned companies such as JA Solar have begun selling their American factories to domestic buyers. For example, Corning, a legendary American manufacturing company with roots stretching back to the 19th century, has acquired JA Solar's Arizona facility and is investing heavily in a new, state-of-the-art plant in Michigan. Corning's vision is ambitious: to create a fully American supply chain. From raw polysilicon produced at its Hemlock Semiconductor subsidiary to finished solar panels rolling off assembly lines in the heartland. This vertical integration isn't just about economics. It's about national security and technological sovereignty. Corning is forging partnerships with domestic companies like Suniva, which will produce solar cells in Georgia, and Heliane, which will assemble the final modules. This tight-knit network of American manufacturers aims to keep as much of the solar value chain as possible within United States borders, reducing vulnerability to global shocks and foreign policy shifts. At the same time, innovation is rapidly changing the rules of the game. Perovskite solar cells, for instance, promise much higher efficiency and lower costs than traditional silicon panels. According to the National Renewable Energy Laboratory, perovskite technology could dramatically lower the cost per watt of solar power and make solar installations more affordable for homeowners and businesses alike. Tandem PV's investment in perovskite manufacturing is just the beginning. If these next-generation cells can be scaled up successfully, it could allow the United States to leapfrog its global rivals and set a new technological standard. But the path ahead is anything but simple. The million-dollar question remains: can American manufacturers truly outcompete their Chinese rivals? Or is this simply a reshuffling of the same global dependencies, with new owners but old supply chains lurking beneath the surface? As government rules evolve, tariffs rise, and trade tensions simmer, is the dream of a truly independent, self-sustaining American solar industry within reach? Or is it destined to collide with harsh economic and geopolitical realities? Let's explore the possible futures for American solar manufacturing. There are several scenarios on the table, each with its own risks, rewards, and ripple effects. The first, and perhaps most optimistic scenario, sees a robust, homegrown solar sector taking root. With generous government incentives stacking up and new factories coming online from Arizona to Michigan, companies like Corning are building out a supply chain that is almost entirely American. Industry analysts project that by 2033, solar manufacturing jobs could triple, revitalizing local economies across the Midwest, the Southeast, and beyond. Imagine towns once known for their auto plants or steel mills, now bustling with solar engineers, technicians, and assembly line workers. A clean energy renaissance, breathing new life into communities left behind by past waves of globalization. But there is another, more complex reality. Despite tariffs as steep as 145% on Chinese imports, Chinese firms are not vanishing from the American landscape. Instead, many are adapting. Rather than exporting finished panels, they are setting up operations within American borders, sometimes selling off their factories to local buyers, other times partnering with domestic companies to maintain a foothold in the market. This creates a complicated mosaic of competition and collaboration, blurring the lines between what is truly American-made and what remains globally entangled. New technologies are further shaking up the market. Perovskite solar cells, for example, could offer much higher efficiency levels and potentially lower production costs compared to traditional silicon panels. According to the National Renewable Energy Laboratory, if American companies can master the manufacturing challenges and scale up production, perovskite cells could redefine who leads the global solar race. Tandem PV's $50 million investment is a signal of this potential. If successful, these next-generation panels could leapfrog traditional silicon technology, positioning the United States as a global innovation leader. Yet, as always, optimism must be balanced against risk. Jenny Chase, head of solar analysis at Bloomberg New Energy Finance, cautions that solar module prices are likely to remain elevated in the near future, thanks to ongoing trade barriers and stubborn supply chain bottlenecks. For consumers, this could mean higher prices at a time when everyone is looking for affordable energy solutions. For manufacturers, the regulatory landscape is becoming a minefield. The FEOC rules are notoriously complex. Keith Martin, a leading energy lawyer at Norton Rose Fulbright, explains that companies seeking to claim vital tax credits must now pass a complicated three-step compliance analysis. The rules are designed to get stricter with each passing year, raising the stakes for every firm involved. A single slip-up in sourcing or documentation could cost millions in lost incentives, making compliance a top concern for every solar executive in the country. There is also the question of long-term stability. Paula Mintz, a leading authority in solar industry research, reminds us that without sustained, predictable government support, American solar manufacturing could struggle to survive against Asian giants, who benefit from massive economies of scale and lower labor costs. Policy whiplash, a sudden change in government priorities, or a shift in political leadership could dry up the very incentives that have fueled the current boom, putting thousands of new jobs and billions in investment at risk. Looking to the future, we can imagine several plausible scenarios unfolding. In one likely outcome, the expansion of American-based solar manufacturing continues, driven by a combination of government incentives and concerns about supply chain security. Companies like First Solar, Q-Cells, and the new generation of perovskite innovators will compete fiercely for market share. We could see a wave of consolidation, with bigger players acquiring smaller rivals to build the scale needed to survive and thrive in a fiercely competitive global market. For example, companies specializing in bifacial solar panels or advanced energy storage systems, such as Enphase Energy and SolarEdge, could emerge as leaders in the next phase of the solar revolution. Another scenario involves the rise of technological specialization. As the grid evolves, the need for advanced solar modules that can work in tandem with battery storage and smart grid technology will become more pressing. This could create new opportunities for American firms to carve out unique market niches, from ultra-efficient rooftop panels to large-scale installations designed to stabilize the grid during peak demand. Yet, even in the most optimistic projections, true independence remains elusive. Here's a little-known fact that many overlook. Almost every solar panel in the world, whether made in the United States, China, or Europe, still relies on critical minerals like polysilicon and silver, sourced from a handful of countries, many of them outside American influence. For instance, much of the world's polysilicon comes from regions in China and Southeast Asia, while key metals like silver are mined in places as far-flung as South America and Australia. Building new American factories helps, but it does not erase these global dependencies overnight. In response, some American companies are working to establish secure supplies of critical minerals. Initiatives are underway to develop new polysilicon facilities in the United States, such as Corning's Hemlock semiconductor plant, which recently secured hundreds of millions of dollars in federal funding to produce semiconductor-grade polysilicon domestically. There are also efforts to recycle rare metals and develop alternative materials that could reduce reliance on foreign sources. However, these solutions take time, investment, and ongoing research. So what does all of this mean for you, the viewer? If you are a homeowner or business owner considering a switch to solar, you are living through a pivotal moment. American-made panels are becoming more widely available, and thanks to federal incentives, they may become more affordable over the next few years. But it pays to look beyond the sticker price. The origin of your solar panels matters, not just for environmental reasons, but for supporting domestic jobs, fostering innovation, and contributing to national energy security. By choosing American-made panels, you are participating in a broader story, one that is shaping the future of energy, industry, and even global geopolitics. For investors or technology enthusiasts, today's solar landscape offers a front-row seat to industrial transformation. Companies that embrace vertical integration, master new technologies like perovskite cells, or successfully navigate the evolving policy maze could emerge as the market leaders of tomorrow. But the risks are real. Firms that fail to adapt to new regulations, miss the shift to next-generation technologies, or rely too heavily on vulnerable supply chains could find themselves left behind as the industry evolves at lightning speed. On a broader scale, the American solar story is a case study in how economics, politics, and technological innovation intersect to reshape entire industries. The rapid shifts we are seeing in solar are already rippling into other sectors. Think semiconductors, electric vehicles, or even advanced manufacturing. The lessons learned here could inform how the United States responds to future crises, supply chain disruptions, or opportunities for industrial renewal. So, can the United States truly build a self-sustaining solar supply chain? The answer is a cautious maybe. Achieving real solar sovereignty will require more than just government incentives and new factories. It will demand persistent policy support, relentless innovation, and the agility to adapt to both economic shocks and geopolitical surprises. It will also require a national commitment to education and workforce development, ensuring that the next generation of American workers is ready to compete in the global clean energy economy. There is also a role for international cooperation. While competition with China and other countries will remain fierce, there are opportunities to collaborate on research, share best practices, and develop global standards that benefit everyone. After all, the sun shines on all of us, and the challenges of climate change, energy security, and technological progress are shared by nations around the world. Here's a final secret that few people realize. Even as American factories multiply, every solar panel remains a product of a vast, interconnected web of suppliers, miners, researchers, and engineers. True independence may be out of reach for now, but every new plant, every new job, and every new innovation brings the United States one step closer to energy sovereignty. If you found these insights valuable, please hit like and subscribe for more in-depth explorations of the forces shaping our economic future. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think the United States can win the solar race, or will global realities always keep the world connected? Stay tuned for more episodes as we continue to shine a light